In this video, we're going to take a look at timers in a Monogame program. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a timer that will simply count down to 0. When it gets down to 0, the program will end. That's going to be a very simple program. Then we're going to look at using timers to change game states. Game states are important. When you start writing real game programs, you will be in maybe a playing state, maybe you'll be in a pause state, maybe you'll be in a splash screen state or a game over state or something like that. And depending on the state that you're in, that's going to determine how your game behaves. So game states are important. The next thing we're going to do after we use a timer to change game states, which is not the way it will normally work, we're going to look at key presses to change game states. So when we look at key presses to change game states, what we're doing is we're waiting for a certain event to occur. When that event occurs, we will respond to it by changing the state of our game. And our game states right now are going to be really simple. All we're going to do when we go from one state to another is just change the color of the screen. Okay, so let's get started. We need a timer to begin with, and that's going to be an integer. And in initialize, what we're going to do is we're going to let our game go for 5 seconds. So a timer at 60 ticks per second, we want 5 minutes, so we're going to set it equal to 60 times 5. And in our update program, every time we go through here, we're going to decrement our timer, just timer minus minus. Eventually it'll get down to 0. When it gets down to 0, we want to exit the game. So if timer is equal to 0, then what we want to do is exit. And we don't need this up here, so I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so that's it. We're going to draw cornflower blue on the screen for 5 seconds, and at the end of 5 seconds, we will end the program. So let's give it a try. And I'll start counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Count a little bit slow, but that was probably pretty close to 5 seconds. Okay, so that's how a timer works. You set it to some initial value, and the easy way usually is to count down to 0 from that initial value. Okay. Well, now what we're going to do is we're going to have several different game states, and we're going to use integers to denote those as well. We're going to make them constants, though. And we're going to have one game state called red, and we're going to set that equal to 1, and we're going to have another red state, or another state we'll call green, and that'll be the number 2. Then we need a variable to keep track of what state we're in. That's going to be another integer, and we're going to call it game state. Okay. And at the beginning, we will set our game state equal to red. Okay. When we're in the red game state, down here, we will have a simple check to see what game state we're in. And if game state is equal to red, then I'm going to set a back color variable, which I have not set yet because we just did cornflower blue the first time. So let's do a color, back color. Okay. And we will initialize our back color the same time we initialize our game state. So back color is going to be equal to color.red. Okay. Now down here, if game state is equal to red, then we will set the back color equal to red. Okay. If the game state is green, then we will set the back color, and I'm going to do lime instead of green. Lime's a little prettier. Okay. So if we're in the red state, we will set the color to red. If we're in the green state, we'll set the color to lime. If I run this now, the timer will time down to 0 after 5 seconds and will exit. Well, that's not what I want to do if the timer gets down to 0. If the timer gets down to 0, I want to change from one state to the other. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check to see if I'm in the red state. I'm in the red state, then I'm going to set, and the timer got down to 0. That means I'm changing from one state to another. So I'm going to set my game state equal to green. Okay. And if I am in my green state, then I want to set the game state equal to red. Okay. Now, you may have already figured out what the problem there is. I'm going to change this so it's a little bit shorter, so we don't have to wait as long for things to happen. So we'll do 3 minutes instead, 3 seconds rather. Let's go ahead and run this. And we're going to count down 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and obviously nothing's happened because guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to change the cornflower blue thing down here. So we got to change that to our back color. Now let's give it a try. One, 2, 3. Okay. And nothing happens. We stay in the red state forever, and you may have spotted the reason why. If the timer gets down to 0, we set it to green, and then we check to see if it's green. We set it right back to red right away. Okay, so it's going to stay red forever. The other thing we need to do is if the timer gets down to 0, we don't want to quit the program like we did last time. We need to reset the timer. So we will also set timer equal to 60 times 3. Okay? Now, the way we keep this from happening is we only want to do, once we go from red to green, we don't want to go any further and do any more checks. So this needs to be an else if. Okay? So now, if I'm in the red state and I count down to 0, then I will switch to green. And because now I've got a nested if, maybe I should have left that up on the same line. Now because I've got a nested if, it jumps to the end. Okay? I reset the timer, count down to 0, and then the next time I'll check see if I'm in the red state. I will not be in the red state the second time. I will be in the green state. So I'll skip this line right here. I'll jump down to the green state check right here, and I'll set it back to red. So now we should be okay. Let's give this a try and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it appears to be working. And we will stop this video right there. And in the next video, we're going to take a look at, instead of using a timer to change game states, we're going to use a key press to change game states.